Hello and welcome to Communion. My name is Luc Bouchard. I am very grateful and very appreciative that you're taking your time out of your day to be here with me and to listen to what I have to say. If at any point it's not compelling for you, please do not feel like you have to stay. This is really probably more for myself, not probably is more for myself than anyone else. But what I'm going to talk about today is my last couple of weeks, what's been going on since actually June 9th. And I have notes that I'm going to refer to, and because there's many things I want to talk about. And back on June 9th, I decided to start this channel because of something I read in the Course in Miracles. And if you saw the first video, I explained it there, and I talked about it there. But what came out was an awareness that I am looking deeply to commune and communicate and to be in communion with others, which is really about being communion with Spirit and with God, and how it's just been wanting in so much part of my life. And that started a path that I really wasn't expecting. I knew I needed to start this channel, but I didn't know what that would be. I thought it would be good to record it just to have something to look at. But what ensued from June 10th to last week was unanticipated, to say the least. I think by looking at communion and being able to communicate, commune with others and communicate and be in union with others, what that cracked open and what that gave a possibility is that I don't actually, like I mentioned, don't feel like I'm in communion, but that spoke to really, much to my own surprise, is my own feeling of unlovable. And previous videos that I've done, I've talked about that. But what I don't think I mentioned is that when I was reading This Moment Is Your Miracle by David Hoffmeister, he had said that you want to ask for a demonstration of God in your life, and when you ask for demonstration of God in your life, ask for it to be obvious. And so I did that on the morning of the 10th, which was a Monday, I believe is the date, and within half an hour, I am having a massive emotional release. Like, I'm just talking a lot of feelings, a lot of, like, let's just call it for what it is. I'm sobbing. And I've done enough work on emotional releases to know that I'm not fully releasing when I have a burning sensation right about here. I know I'm blocking myself, and that's because I don't like the way I sound. I don't like, my nose is running. I feel vulnerable. I feel exposed, and I'm worried about what people are going to hear and all this stuff. So I'm starting to have these releases, and I realize I have this belief that I'm unlovable, which I didn't know the depths of it. And fast forward to the next weekend, what comes to me was what I talked about in the last video, is that, oh, well, okay, I get it. If I'm not lovable, no one's going to love me if I don't feel I'm lovable. And it really brought some sense and clarity to me. And that was on a Saturday night that I realized that. Sunday morning, more releases. And on Monday, I asked for to be connected to Holy Spirit, and I want to feel the connection, and I asked for it to be obvious. And then again, another purge came up, and just this outpouring of emotion. I have an Airbnb in my basement, and I was so worried about my guests hearing it that I have a big commercial fan that I put in front of the door, and then I went into my bedroom so that I could have some privacy. And that's when really releases came out, and it was just this massive purge. And the next day, Tuesday, my ribs hurt. Like I did 50 sit-ups without any warm-ups, like out of the blue. And I don't do I don't do sit-ups or push-ups. And they hurt, and I realized that it was from the day before of actually this release and the amount of emotion coming up. And the other thing that happened is after I had that release, I was so fatigued. I was so tired. I had to actually go to sleep. It was just too much. I needed to have a nap because I was emotionally spent and physically spent. So we come to Tuesday, which was, Tuesday would have been last week. And I have a suspicion I'm not done with this release. I think there's more, but I'm not sure. And I really have no idea how long I'm going to be in this. And I watched a video by Marianne Williamson where she talked about, when we go through this stuff, there's a period of being in the desert and there's a period of being lost and whatnot. And I saw that video in the midst of where I was at, and that gave me a lot of solace to go, oh, okay, maybe this will end one time. But I had no idea. I had no clue as to how long I was going to be in this place of just feeling awful. And it's not that it prolonged throughout the day, but I was certainly very mindful of the fact that there was no joy in my life and there was no happiness, and I was just kind of just trying to figure out what to do. And the week before, I had reached out to Michael Palmer, who I'm becoming close friends with, and just feel so appreciative and blessed of what he brings and how he has helped my life. And one of the things he had said after the first release I had, where I realized I was unlovable, he says, you have to start talking to people. You have to share this with people. So taking his advice, I started talking to people. I contacted, some other people and was sharing it and whatnot. And everyone was just so touched by my ability just to, open up my armor and go, this is what's going on for me. And that really helped a lot. So fast forward to a week ago, 8 days ago, 7 days ago, it was a Tuesday. I asked for another demonstration of having the Holy Spirit in my life. And that's where the big emotional release came up. And again, I'm in my bedroom, I'm on my knees, I'm on my bed sobbing. I have just this wad of Kleenex that is just from blowing my nose and my eyes are running. And then it came to me about how absolutely unworthy I felt, how totally unworthy I felt. And it was deeper than feeling unlovable. It was like unworthiness. And in 12-step programs, they talk about hitting rock bottom. And I think that was a rock bottom for me, because at that point, I am actually saying, okay, I get it. I have no clue what I'm doing. I have no idea. 56 years of living, I have no clue. And I unequivocally, totally surrendered, going, I don't have a fucking clue. I don't know anymore. I never did, but I now admit I don't know. And it went on for a while, and of course the exhaustion and just all the feelings and emotions that came up with it. And I would like to tell you there was a cathartic feeling of my life is, everything's better now, everything's easier. And as I said at Sarah and Dawn's last night, because I talked about this knowing I was going to do this video today, because I needed some distance from what happened last week to actually put in context. And it was just, sorry, I lost my train of thought there. So I did mention it. I did talk about it last night at Sarah and Dawn's, and everyone was wonderful and very, very accepting of where I was at. But this notion of total surrender, this notion of just giving over and agree, and finally knowing that I don't have a fucking clue and I don't know, was very, It wasn't cathartic. It was like this is what I was going to say. Nothing changed and everything changed. Everything was different. Like the edge was gone. It's not as if I was feeling euphoric. Far from it. I was still I felt I was still in the wilderness. But I was noticing things like my meditations were different. My need to be in a relationship was different. I less reactive around my kids, more even keeled, and that was a Tuesday that happened. And then because I was listening to Michael's advice about talking to people, I went and saw my good friend Tris. And I was at Tris's and I was talking about what was going on, and he brings out a stack of books that he's a series he's reading. And there's this book, The Book of Knowing and Worth by Paul Siegel, I'm not sure. And I see The Book of Knowing and Worth, and this was after 8 hours before. It was just like feeling totally unworthy. So I say to him, "Can I borrow that book? Because there are no coincidences." And I start reading it, and it brings relief, and I don't enjoy reading. It's laborious for me, but this is easy. This is actually not a problem. So I'm reading the book, and that's Tuesday, and my practice was at that point to start praying every day, which I'd never done. Meditate differently than I have been, and meditating is easier because it's like I feel like I don't know how to say it differently. I feel like I'm being drawn upward in my meditation. It's wonderful, but it's bizarre. And I've been meditating for years, and I've never had this experience, and it only happened after I had these massive releases. So that's a Tuesday night. The next day is a Wednesday. I have a daughter who's 12. She's in grade 6, and she has a grade 6 farewell. And I have not been on time for some of her performances. I've been on time for many, but not some of them. And in her mind, she's going, she thinks her perception is I'm always late, and I don't show up. And when she told me this, it was like, okay, I'm not going to change. I'm not going to argue your perception. That is your perception, and that part of that is accurate. And so she says to me 3 times, "It's at 2:00, Dad. You're going to be there at 2:00." And she's like, "Yes, absolutely, Sarah, I'll be there." So the next day, Wednesday, after I started reading this and totally released and gave over and said, "Okay, I admit I don't have a clue. I never did." I go to her concert, and I'm there an hour early. And it's just like, how did I get an hour early? I was supposed to be there. It started at 2:00. I was there at 1:45, and it was just like, okay. So what am I going to do? I have an hour to kill. So I came home, grabbed this book, went to my local Second Cup. And as I walked in, I had this sensation of relief. I had this sensation of I just felt better. And I put my stuff on a coffee table, and I see on another table, there's a book by an author that actually I have Colin Christensen, and Colin has presented at my workshops. And I see this book, and I tell the 2 people, I says, "Oh, I know the author of this book, and he's a great guy, and he knows his stuff. He does sales training and other things, and he's really good. I'm happy to see that." And they say, "Oh, he's over there. He's buying coffee." And I was just happy to see my friend, and I hadn't seen him for a while, and I was just feeling better and better and better. And I say, "Hey, Colin, how are you doing?" And we talk, and he goes, "Hey, you know what? Can you present next Friday? Because I'm presenting and one of the speakers backed out." And it was just like, yeah, of course, because that's how I get in front of people. And I love presenting, and I love talking about clarity and how you move forward, and how do you position yourself, and all the stuff in my business and in the other video I do. And so I'm in a better place. I'm feeling better, and then I secure this gig that is supposed to be up to 130 people. And it's just like, wow. And then I go to my daughter's concert and live that, and then then I get a contract. And what brought on all this angst and this fear was the fact that there was no money coming in, and I've been here so much. I've been here so often, and and I'm going to be doing a video soon on that pattern. That is, I discovered some stuff on that, but I need to do this video first before I could do that one. So now I feel like I'm out of the wilderness. Now I feel like I'm out of the desert, and it only came by through an acknowledgement and opening my armor and going and just dropping it all away and actually admitting it. And people are asking me, why are you doing these videos? Why are you putting yourself out there on YouTube and showing this to the world? And my only answer to that is I'm compelled to. Full stop. I've got nothing else besides I am compelled to do this. And when that changes, I'll get back to you. But I have no other reason to do this besides I just feel like I need to, and I don't need to question why. I have some suspicions, but they're not important. I'm just compelled to do this. I have the latitude, I have the ability to do this because of all, over 450 YouTube videos across 4 different channels and an online program, all this stuff. I can do it. It's not effort. And what I want to say to you, and what I invite you to do, is to drop your armor. Because the worst that's going to happen, the worst that will happen is you'll either fall asleep from exhaustion or your ribs are going to hurt. And there is nothing worse that will happen to you besides your own perception, and I know. So I invite you to take that risk, because I do know that we all feel unworthy at one level or another. Maybe not all, but many of us. So I invite you to take that risk, and I invite you to drop your armor and open up and allow Spirit in and God in, because it's just so much better now. Nothing's changed, but everything's changed. Thank you so much for watching this video. My name's Luc Bouchard, and I'm going to end this by saying, isn't it time we all went home? It's time to go home. Let's do our work, and none of us go home unless we all go home. So let's do our work, and it's time to go home. And I just encourage you. Thanks so much for watching this video. Thank you so much for hearing me. There's going to be more videos like this coming, and I'm so glad you were with me today and in union with me and communing with me. God bless.